Am I the a-hole for catching my sister cheating on her boyfriend and involving myself? This happened months ago and still don't know if I did the right thing or not. My younger sister that's still in high school has been dating this guy we will call Chris. Chris is a smart, charming, good-looking dude, cares a lot, and isn't a douche. I didn't like Chris at first because he was dating her, and I have a hard time opening up to people. But he's a truly cool kid, very kind, gets good grades, plays sports, and was on a good path. He was a good friend as well. Anyways, I come home from work a few hours early, and there is a car sitting in my spot in the driveway. Didn't think much of it, because she always has friends coming over. I walk in the front door to see her with another guy in the living room. I didn't see much since they heard me open the door, and I looked away but I saw just enough to tell what was going on. I walked down the hallway to the bathroom to take a leak. It's away from the living room, and figured that's enough time for them to get dressed. I get done with my business. I walk back to the living room and discover the kid who was there is someone I went to high school with. Our age gaps aren't much. I was only 2 years older than him. This kid was a freaking loser. He gets stoned every day, smokes, gets trash grades, acts like a turd in class and makes teachers cry. Just about the biggest sack of turd you can think of in a high school kid. I asked my sister why. I started going on about how kid is a loser and that she threw Chris away for this little a-hole. Pretty much just talking crap about this bag of trash that's in my house. That little a-hole didn't like I was saying those things and said he wanted to fight me outside. I told him to get the heck out of my house, and he refused. Grabbed him by the collar and dragged him out of the house like a ragdoll and shoved him out of the front door, causing him to fall on his face. He gets back up and leaves in his car. I just gotten back from my job school in the military and was away from home for 8 months and was going to the gym frequently. I'm in the reserves, aka part-time military, so I have a civilian full-time job that's only a few minutes away from home. My younger sister is bawling her eyes out. I said she messed up, and I asked her why she did this. No response. I'm already furious at this point, but trying to keep it cool. She didn't want to respond, so I just dropped it and went to go to work on my truck. Parents got home a few hours. Didn't tell them about it. They still didn't know. The rest of the entire day I was debating on telling Chris since I was pretty sure my sister didn't want to. Part of me wanted to take my family's side, but I felt like that wasn't the right thing to do. I called Chris that night and told him what was up. He sounded very upset and said he would just break things off with my sister, which was understandable. My relationship with my sister still hasn't healed. I've maybe seen her 4 times in the past few months. Part of it is because I travel for work and work overtime. I don't like how I was involved in this, and if it were up to me, I wish I didn't go home early that day because I do feel bad sometimes. But when I saw what was going on, I put myself in Chris's shoes and what I would have wanted if I were him. Him and I still cool and hang out sometimes. Edit. Yes, I know it sounds weird that I grabbed a high school kid and dragged him out of the house, but we did go to school together, and I had a class with him. He refused to leave the house and wanted to fight. I'm pretty sure he is 18, both are seniors. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Telling Chris was the right thing to do. All the a-hole stuff falls on your sister, sorry to say. I think it's better to rip the band-aid off and move on. Cheaters don't come clean in my experience. It just gets more messy. That opportunity you give them to have a sudden turnaround in personal integrity, they instead use to weasel parents and others on side to pressure you into silence. Or they come up with some twisted half-truths and gaslight the person being cheated on. The person being cheated on is being kept in the dark, and others are being made to feel an accomplice to it. Not the a-hole. If my significant other was cheating, I'd want to know ASAP, so I could break up immediately. Cheating and lying about it for a long time will hurt way worse when they find out it's been going on and they've been lied to forever. Now instead of wasting his life and time, he can now quit wasting his time with a cheater and start to move on and find a real girl who won't betray him. If she comes clean, good. Now she has to be a big girl and take accountability for her stupid actions. If she doesn't, then tell the kid yourself and give her no other choice but to face it head on. Not the a-hole. You always tell someone when they've been cheated on. It's a matter of life and death in some cases, and basic decency always. Wish my friends had this mentality when my ex-wife was running around town. I've gotten to the point where I am amicable with my ex and co-parent well, but those friends that knew and never told me, well, those friendships never healed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take down a congratulatory Facebook post for one of my daughters? I, 56 female, have twin daughters Ava and Susie, 25, with my husband, 57 male. Ava and Susie have always been complete opposites, but they were best friends up until just before they both moved away for college. Ava got into one of the best schools in the country and moved across the country for it. And Susie got into a good school but not as great as the one Ava got into, and this is where the problems began. Susie started making digs at Ava and making jokes that the college only accepted her for diversity reasons. Ava wouldn't let Susie say mean things about her without fighting back, so it was basically an entire summer of fighting and hostility in our household, no matter what my husband and I did to try to solve it. Susie's situation at college wasn't great. She got into hard drugs in college and was expelled in her second year for doing them on campus. She had to move back home and go to rehab. Rehab failed a lot of times, but wouldn't give up on her. Ava would come back home several times a year to come see and support her sister. We were doing whatever we could to help Susie get her life back on track. Last year was the first time Susie's rehab actually worked for months. After she finished the treatment, and she even got a part-time job. Things were and still looking promising. She hasn't gone back to using and she's now working 30-ish hours a week. She's exercising and writing poetry and painting. We're so incredibly proud of her. Ava graduated with an undergraduate and a master's degree. My husband and I flew into her city for both graduations. Susie couldn't come for Ava's master's graduation because she said she couldn't take time off work. She hasn't taken time off work the entire year, so I'm kind of doubtful that she would be denied time off, but I didn't push the issue. I figured she just didn't want to go. Anyway, my husband and I went and we took loads of pictures, some of which I posted on Facebook. A lot of my friends and family were commenting on the post congratulating Ava and wishing her well. I got a call from Susie like 30 minutes after I posted it, asking if I can delete it. I asked her why, and she couldn't give me a reason at first. I said I'm not deleting it without a good reason, since all I did was post about Ava's graduation. She said if I keep posting about Ava's achievements and none of hers, she's going to look like a failure to everyone, and they're all going to wonder why Ava's done so well in life and she hasn't. I said I don't post her because she doesn't ever want me to. I once wanted to post the very first big canvas she painted onto Facebook, and she asked me not to because she thinks it's not something good enough to post or be proud of, in comparison in what other people her age were achieving. I always try and assure her that we are proud of her, and how far she has come is something she should also be proud of herself for. But she still doesn't ever want me to post anything about her on Facebook, so I don't. I told Susie that her feelings are valid, but Ava deserves to be celebrated, and that maybe she can talk about her feelings about this whole thing with her therapist and find a way to cope, because living like this isn't fair to either of them. I said I want to post about her achievements too, and how proud I am of her, but she won't let me, and that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it for Ava either. I was going to ask Ava whether she minds if I take it down, but honestly, I think Susie needs to deal with this problem with her therapist, instead of forbidding us to celebrate Ava on social media. I don't want her to continue living like this, and I don't think me conceding this time will be helpful to either of my daughters in the long run. Susie said it shouldn't be this hard for me to do something so minor that will make her feel better. I don't know if I'm being completely awful or if I have it right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did nothing wrong. Susie can't have it both ways. She can't tell you that she doesn't want you to post things about her, and then wonder if not posting things will make her look like a screw-up. Taking the pictures down would not make Susie feel better. Her unhappiness is far deeper and self-related. This is so important. Susie is externalizing her pain. She's projecting it onto you and something you did, rather than accepting that it's about her and how she feels about herself and her life. Minimizing Ava's accomplishments to make Susie feel better is not a good solution. Making someone else look smaller so you can feel bigger is never the right answer. Not the a-hole. Ava's accomplishments deserve to be celebrated. Don't take that post down. When you get home, remind Susie that you have tried in the past to post work you were proud of and she told you not to. Find something to put up of Susie's accomplishments soon, maybe a general "so proud of my daughter Susie" in the creative path she's pursuing, and run it by her, reminding her again that you can't get upset that you only post about one daughter, while actively preventing you from posting about her. Also, I would bet all Susie's troubles have taken a lot of attention off of Ava and used up a significant part of her parents' lives, finances, and energy. Don't you dare let Susie bully you into not celebrating Ava. Well said, it is Ava's time to shine, with all the hard work she has done to graduate. Susie does not get to tell the parents how to celebrate the other daughter. Susie had a choice of her life decisions. Not the a-hole. You are completely right. She needs to work out how to cope with her therapist. It seems like it all started because she couldn't cope with her sister have more success. Instead of focusing on herself and what she needs to feel fulfilled, she focused on her sister, and it made her miserable. Her sobriety is still relatively new. She's acting like a dry drunk. That's someone who isn't using, but still is exhibiting the toxic behaviors that lead to using. She's embarrassed about not being more successful, but instead of facing those feelings, she wants her sister to suffer. She doesn't want her sister to be happy or proud, and she doesn't want anyone supporting or congratulating her. She sees her sister's successes as her own failures. As long as she is in this mindset, she won't get better. Also, she won't let you celebrate her for a few reasons. One is because she doesn't feel good enough to be celebrated. But second, she's afraid of what will happen if she doesn't live up to praise or she relapses. Again, these are things she has to work through with a therapist. She won't be happy until she starts living her life for herself and focusing on her own goals and not worrying about where she is in comparison. You handled it as well as anyone could have. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to join family Christmas because my mom invited my abuser sister? I, 27 male, was S8 as a child for years by my stepfather's son, who lived with my mom and stepfather at a time. A few years later, after talking to my little sister, 26 female, I found out that he had been essaying her as well at the same time. It wasn't until the school got involved and called DHS when they noticed the signs of abuse. Bedwetting, excessive scratching, inappropriate behavior with adults. Even after being sat down with a social worker in a small room with a two-way mirror, did we finally have to tell our mom and stepdad? But there was no point. My stepfather gaslit us, saying it never happened and we were making it up. My mother, not saying anything nor defending us, ignored the situation. Until about 2 years ago, when she admitted to my little sister, 24 at a time, in casual conversation, that she believed us the entire time, yet still never said anything. It's destroyed our mental health for years, on top of the verbal abuse from our stepfather and continued ignorance of our mom. My stepfather also has a daughter, close to her brother's age. She, of course, believed we were lying trying to cause drama in the family, since we were the kids intruding her family. We didn't communicate much with her and she soon became estranged from the entire family. My stepfather continued to be a horrible person. Years later, my mom is separated from him, even living in different homes and states for years. Recently, she's been spending time with him again, despite my sisters and I being against him in our lives again. But we choose to deal because it was either see our mom and deal with our stepdad or cut her off, and we weren't ready for that step. He continues to come to family events because he hopes to get remarried with our mom, despite his hatred for us. Christmas is coming and my mom decided to get a cabin for the weekend for the family, inviting my 3 sisters and their husbands, my father and his girlfriend. Then come to find out, our mom invited my stepfather's daughter, who we haven't talked to in over 10 years. My little sister is the one who found out, and she messaged my mom personally and older sister saying she isn't going. She said she can't handle being around him or his family anymore, and it would be better for her mental health to stay home. I of course agreed with her, saying I was refusing to go as well, for the same reason. My mom's only response was that she understands we have to prioritize our mental health, but said she'll see us after Christmas to drop off our cards. My little sister was very distraught and frustrated that my mom was choosing our stepdad and our abusers over her own kids. I'm used to it, since our family is just overall awful. But they always at least prioritized her feelings since she moved away after high school and barely sees them as is. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to Christmas and stay by her side? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole, but your mom is. That is distasteful and dismissive of your hurt. Maybe you should sit this one out and let her feel your pain. I hate this kind of woman. Is the need of have a man in your life so great that sacrificing your kids seems sensible? Is the man so great that the suffering of your kids is not enough? OP, your mother is a crap stain, and you are not the a-hole. She's not going to. She is so self-centered that the mental health of her kids is invisible. Because if she's happy, why are they not? If she's like my mother-in-law, and she is, my mother-in-law is a self-centered witch. She's gonna cry a river because this was in the past. Why you cannot forgive and forget? We are family. OP, please go no contact. Your health is more important than everything else. Not the a-hole. He has some nerve messaging you after having refused to believe you were assaulted. Oh, he definitely believed them. He just didn't care about children being victimized. Exactly. I'm so fed up with hearing parents throw the "done so much for you" excuse in their kids' face. Giving your children a roof over their heads, feeding and clothing them is the bare minimum of being a parent. If you think that deserves a medal, then you have some serious issues. If the mom didn't know the abuse was happening, even with all the warning signs, that's one thing. But to stay with a man who calls your children liars and is abusive to them doesn't make you a good mom. Just because they had a roof over their heads, if it wasn't a safe place for them, you are failing them. Why would the kids want to be around their abuser's family, who treated them so poorly and called them liars? That's completely normal, and mom and stepdad had no right to complain about it. Mini update. My stepfather messaged us both today, calling us selfish, and that our mom has done so much for us and we're being hateful for refusing to go. That our mom is upset about the situation. We both didn't respond and blocked him, but we haven't heard from anyone else in the family, other than they don't want to get involved.